Hello, I'm Reverend Rick, and it is my honor to be with you today. We really hope that this video is a blessing to you. And if it is, please consider making a donation. People watch our videos locally when they cannot necessarily come to church throughout the United States and the world. So please join us and click the link below and make a donation. Thank you, and let this be a blessing to you.
Let us prepare ourselves. If you put your hand over your eyes, I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today. Now over your ears I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today. And now over your heart and extend out your arms. I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today. The spiritual truth that I'm working with today is that you are the ones the world has been waiting for. You are the ones the world has been waiting for. Not the fearful you, not the judgmental you, not the defensive you, but that you that knows how to get up after you fall back down. That you that knows that the power of God is within you, and that in fact you are the arms and the legs and the smile and the heart of God on this very planet. Today I want to talk about my wishes for you for 2019. Specifically 4 wishes that I hope will happen simply because you come to CSA. They might happen otherwise too, but I hope that we prompt these 4 wishes to come to fruition in your life. It's as if we were having lunch or coffee together and you said, Reverend Georgia, what will make my life better by coming to this church without rules? This church that welcomes everybody. This church that really believes oneness is a thing and not just a trendy idea. How is my life going to be made enhanced by that? I believe it's going to make you to have deeper relationships, but more importantly than that to me is that I think your walk of faith will be more exciting. It will be more fun. The one thing that I absolutely hate to hear when people are leaving the church and they leave and they say, you know what, I just wasn't learning anything new here. I just wasn't learning anything new. And the truth is, they were both right and wrong. Just because, if you're like me, just because somebody's teaching something doesn't mean I'm learning it. Doesn't that happen with you sometimes? Just because somebody's teaching it, the learning just hasn't hit yet? There might be a reason. Here's the truth. The truth is that I teach repetitive spiritual principles every single week. And no matter where you go, if you go to another church, you're going to find somebody who's teaching repetitive spiritual principles every single week. If you go to a synagogue, you're going to find a rabbi who's teaching repetitive spiritual principles every single week. If you go to a mosque, you're going to hear an imam teach repetitive spiritual principles every single week. If you join a coven, you're going to have the leader of the coven teach repetitive spiritual principles every single week. Principles that have been around for thousands and thousands of years because they're eternal principles. You know, the truth is that we always try and find new ways to teach these thousands and thousands and thousands of year-old spiritual principles. My hope and my wish is that it might enliven your church experience, not only your church experience, but also your experience in your offices, your experience at home, your experience at Starbucks, everywhere you go. That these 4 wishes might enliven your experience in life. Well, the first one I'm going to give you a hint is long. Takes a long time. I've got 4. So if you're listening and you're looking at your watch and think, my God, she's not even done with 1 yet. She's going to be here till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. No, 2, 3, and 4, I breeze through those. You barely hear them. I'm so quick with them. We're going to spend some time on this first one. So we're ready for the first slide, Steve. And I want to say that this first one is for everybody. It's for working people and people who are retired. Everybody would benefit Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, all kinds of people will benefit from understanding and embracing this first wish that I have for you. And that is that you have a courageous act of compliance that'll cost you something. That sometime this year you're going to have a courageous act of compliance with spiritual principle that's going to cost you something. Now, if I was in a different church, I'd say obedience to God, but I know where I am, so it's a courageous act of compliance. Amen. It's going to cost you something in this life. Now, I know that might not be your wish for yourself, but it's my wish for you. That we begin to train ourselves to feel that internal nudge. That internal nudge in our life, and to say yes to it. That internal nudge, and to say yes to it so that you can begin to take the next step in what your higher power has in store for you. Whatever you want to call that entity, doesn't matter. But what we do know is not a God in the sky, because in this church we don't believe. If you're visiting today, we don't believe in a God in the sky. We believe in an internal energy that's present within us all of the time. And some of us call that internal energy, that love, that divine love, we call that God, but you don't have to. But it has a nudge factor. It has a nudge factor that is available to you all the time. That I'm also, not only am I not talking about a God in the sky, but I'm also not talking about your ego nudge. You know, that nudge that happens when, you know, you hate your job and you hate the people in the job, and your ego is just saying, I got to get out of here, I got to quit my job. That may happen, but it's not the divine nudge that I'm talking about today. It's not the compliance. You know, you may be lonely in your life, and you may say, I'm just going to marry the next person who comes along because I'm done being. That's your ego nudge. That's not the divine nudge in your life. I'm talking about that message that you get every single time that you're in the quiet, every single time that you're in prayer. Even if it's not a meditation situation, do we need to do anything?
I think I might need to have you hold a microphone. Right?
All right,
I'm sorry.
I will do that. So you'll turn this off?
Yes.
All right, I'm talking about that eternal nudge that is with you in the quiet, or that time that you're walking around and you're not prepared, but somebody does something in your life, and it just makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. That's the eternal nudge. Do you know how I got here to you? I got here to you because I went to the church in Santa Rosa one day, and I saw the minister baptizing a 4-year-old boy, and the hair on the back of my neck stood up because it combined my love of God and my love of children in that one moment, and I knew that's what I'm meant to do. That's what I need to do. And do you know what I said? Hell no! Hell no! I wasn't willing to take a courageous step in compliance with the nudge because of what I thought it might cost me. I didn't want to be a minister. I didn't want to make minister wages. I didn't want to work minister hours. But it wouldn't let go of me. It kept me and kept me and kept me in my life. So here's what my goal is for you. And maybe, really, maybe the nudge will be for you to quit your job. But it won't come from your ego. It'll come from that place where you never expected it. Maybe it is to ask somebody to marry you. Maybe that's the courage that you need for being to say yes to what your next step is. Maybe it comes from the nudge, and we want you to say yes in those areas. But in order to do that, your ego can't vet it. See, your ego can't say, does this make sense? Because the thing about it is, it takes courage to do what you're doing. And if your ego says, no, don't do that, that's too scary, and you stop, you haven't listened to the divine nudge. You haven't been able to accept my wish for you to take a courageous action of compliance with spiritual principle that's going to cost you something in your life. The cost is usually your tranquility. That's what the cost is, and none of us like that. We don't like to be untranquil. We don't like to lose control. We like to know what's next and how it's going to look and how we're going to feel and how we're going to dress and who's going to be with us and a number of other things. This is really stepping out. It's stepping out into that area that's designed by God. And by the way, this wish, this particular wish, why I'm taking this along with it is because it itself, if you're willing to listen to the divine nudge and have a courageous act of non-compliance that will cost you something, it will take your spiritual journey in a much deeper level, in a much more exciting level for yourself. And I just want to make sure we're all on the page of what this idea of deep is. Sometimes, you know, I've had this experience, and some of you might have too, where you go to a movie or you go to a lecture and you walk out and you don't know what the hell just was said. You're just confused about the whole thing, and the person you're with, boy, that was so deep. That was deep. No, it wasn't deep, it was just confusing. And they think that's deep. I don't want you to think any of my sermons ever are deep, okay? So if anybody says, hey, how are her sermons? They're not deep, I'll tell you that. They're not deep. Not even a little bit deep. Deep is not more information. Deep is transformation. That's what deep is. It's transformation. Deep is saying yes to that divine nudge, especially when you don't know where the yes is going to take you in your life. When you look at people that you admire, whether they're on this side of the veil or the other side of the veil, people you like, and you think, I want to be like that person, it's not because of what they said. Oftentimes, it's not what they did. It's what they did when you noticed they didn't know how it was going to turn out. They did it in spite of what they knew, not in light of what they knew in this life. Deep is when you can't touch bottom. Deep is when you're in over your head. Deep is when you are totally in compliance without knowing the outcome. Some of you know exactly what that's like because right today you're wrestling with the divine nudge. There's something calling you right now, and you're wondering, what should I do about it? What's my next step about it? You've talked about it with friends. You've talked about it maybe with your spouse. You've talked about it even perhaps with a practitioner in your life. And you know it's pulling you into the deep, and it's pulling you. You can't let go of it. You've tried to let go of it, but you can't let go of it. And when that happens, you know that you're in a courageous moment of compliance with spiritual principle and your next great steps. So when that happens, that's when our faith becomes deeper. That's when our faith becomes deeper. People say, well, have you prayed about this? Prayed about it? I've about worn out my knees, my virtual knees, praying about this. It's that time in your life when you're feeling more vulnerable. The choir sings a song, and maybe you've heard that song before, but at that moment, it goes right to your heart. It goes right to your heart. Why? Because you're wrestling with the divine nudge, and you know you need help. Nobody needs to tell you to go read more spiritual readings, because you already know you're already doing that very thing to try and get out of the quandary of the divine nudge into a place. When we wait too long to have courage, to act, to listen to the divine nudge, to have a moment in our lives, our faith becomes stale. Our faith becomes stale, and it's boring. And that's when we start going around and shopping for other people to help us, church shopping and brunch shopping or any kind of shopping, just so we don't have to be here at the church. I could give you a long laundry list of people who have stepped into the divine nudge without knowing, who've had a courageous act of non-compliance that cost them something in this life. And their faith became deeper. Their lives became happier. Many of you know we have 2 attorneys who had very active and prosperous legal practices. And they listened to the divine nudge. And they became a poet or a photographer. Equally successful, different kind of success, great deal more happy, faith much deeper in this life. All of us bless everybody when we listen to the divine nudge and live our most authentic life here. Some of you have wrestled with the divine nudge and you became foster parents. You weren't looking for more kids. Maybe you raised your own kids, but there was something about that nudge that made you answer the call to become a foster parent. Some of you have had corporate jobs in which you were making really good money and you were advancing well, but the divine nudge kept calling you to teach school. And it kept calling you to teach school. And you did that. And you're happier and your faith is stronger as a result of it in your life. See, that's my wish. My first wish for you is this one, that you have a courageous act of compliance with spiritual principle that costs you something. And I promise you, if you say yes to that opportunity, your faith will be deeper. Your walk with God will be stronger. You'll look in the mirror and you'll see a whole entirely different person staring back at you. So that's wish number 1. Wish number 2 is, I wish for you to know the thrill of being instrumental in somebody else's decision to embrace the notion that they are spiritual beings living in a spiritual universe governed by spiritual laws, having a human experience. That's my wish for you, because it is absolutely thrilling when you escort somebody into an arena in which they begin to understand they are whole, perfect, and complete just as they are right this second. That's a thrilling moment in anybody's life. You know, we live in a country right now where there's a tremendous amount of hopelessness on the planet. I'm still reeling from that 22-year-old cop that was gunned down by somebody who needed mental health services. See, my prayer is for both of them. We need so much help in this. We need help in terms of healing the racial divide that is in this country, because racism is killing people that we love, that we don't even know. We have people who are suffering from the government shutdown right now. They're not having enough food to eat and other problems with their rents and other things. We need to do, and some of us in this church, we're doing things on the outer in our social justice work. And I'm going to be talking more about opportunities for us through CSA in the next couple of weeks to do even more social justice work on the outside. But whether you want to do that or not, there's work for all of us to do on the inside. And that work is simply to help everybody understand that they are whole, perfect, and complete. Because once they understand that, there's no reason to keep drawing the circle smaller. We keep drawing the circle bigger. When there's nobody for us to protect ourselves from, come on in. Come on into my circle. Come on into my life. That's what happens when we understand we're whole, perfect, and complete. So why wouldn't we want everybody to know that they are whole, perfect, and complete? You want a closer walk with God? Invite people to come to this church and just hear that, because I say it every single Sunday. Invite people. I'm telling you, you'll feel vulnerable. Who wants to invite? First of all, nobody knows I go to church, okay? I don't talk about it, and when they say, where are you on Sunday morning? I'm asleep, or wherever. Slept in. Ask somebody to come to church next Sunday and see how it makes you feel. But remember this, I wish for you the thrill of helping people understand who it is they are in this lifetime. That's the third one. is this. My third wish for you is the joy and freedom that comes from organizing your financial world around give, save, live. Give, save. Now, I'm not talking about giving. And this isn't some sort of a sneaky way for me to ask you for more money. Those of you who know me know I'm very direct. If I need more money, I'm going to come up here on the stage and I'm going to say, I need more money. That's not what this is about. This is about you. This is about you. And I'm not talking about just giving. I'm talking about organizing your whole entire financial world around these three concepts. Give, love, save, live. In fact, your church is doing that right now. Your church, we've always given 10% of our income that we get from you to a place that shows God's love on the planet. But now the board is saying we additionally have to every month save some money in case something happens to the roof or whatever. We need to give, save, live. Now look, I want you to have all the stuff that you want. All the stuff. We teach that here. You want stuff? We'll help you figure out a way to get it in consciousness. Take this class, Prosperity Plus 3. We want you to have all the stuff. But what we don't want is for the stuff to have you. Because once the stuff has you, your relationships begin to fail. And that's not what we want here. But what we do want is for you to develop a plan in which you organize your financial world around this concept of give, save, love. That's why the board has opted to do a pledge drive. And if you want to get in the pledge drive, go over there and talk to Donna after church. Most of us, many of us in this room, give 10% of our income right off the top. Donna and I do. We give 10% right off the top of our income. We don't even know it, actually, because it comes out of EFT. Why do we do that? Because we know, tithers in this church know, you can't outgive God. You cannot outgive God. It's not possible. So whatever your percentage is, doesn't matter to me. What matters to you is that you begin to embrace 2019 with this idea of give, save, love. The last one I want to talk about today is building the superpower of uncertainty. Building the superpower of uncertainty. I'm reading a book right now. Many know the work of Tamu Keeves. I think she's a really great self-help person. And she wrote a book called Thriving Through Uncertainty. It's not, get me through the uncertainty. It's not, oh my God, let me get through this. It's thriving through uncertainty. Because she understands that uncertainty, when we get so connected to having to have things certain, that's when our pain comes. When we have to have the outcome we want, when we want it, that's when we get in a painful situation in our life. So she wrote this book, and in this book, she says, look, uncertainty is a spiritual superpower. It's the oxygen that we need that shakes us awake. Because so many of us are in what she calls a shield of habit. And I'm in that. I'm a shield of habit. You know, it's interesting. The board a couple of weeks ago, we decided the board members would look for, you know, everybody sits where they want to sit, and most of you, I know whether you're in church or not. I don't take attendance, by the way, but I do know where you are. I do know if you're in church because I know where you sit. And we're like habitual people. We go and we sit in the same place all the time. We're a little cranky if somebody has our seat. We try not to because we're in church, but we give them the eye, you know, you're in my chair. And this is so, I know this about myself because last week, Jeff Pollard, who always sits over there, sat over there, and I could barely talk. I could barely preach. I thought, what is he doing over there? And then I remembered, oh, we're switching up our chairs, so we sit next to new people. So we want to be shaken awake in our life. All of us, in our, some of us in our parenting, some of us in our love life, some of us in our business life, we get weighed down sometimes under the uncertainty, and it's heavy for us. And then we begin to negotiate with God. God, please take this away. God, let me know what the next step is. Tell me right now. We begin to negotiate. That, frankly, is the prayer of the tired. It's the prayer of the tired. And I understand that prayer. But it's not a prayer that's going to help you take your spiritual journey into a deeper place in your life. You know, when we are in that place of the tired, what we're saying to God is, I want my life to be anywhere but here, right now. But of course, life asks us to be right where we are. We're in the hallway. When we're in that place, we're in the hallway. The door to pure potentiality is right there, but we're not there yet. But if we can begin to be calm with this state of uncertainty and know that it has a great deal of information for us, that state of uncertainty in our life is where our green edges of growth live. And it's also where we become the most vulnerable. And when we become the most vulnerable, that's when we're the closest to this spirit called God in our life. So today I'm going to ask you to do some homework. As if you're visiting, I often do this. Tonight, sit at your kitchen table and with a piece of paper and a pencil, just answer this question. Where am I craving certainty? Where am I craving certainty? And wherever that answer is, know that's your butterfly moment. That's where God is calling you to a new expression in your life. And know that you will be supported. You will be supported by the universe, and you will be supported by the people in this congregation, the practitioners, the ministers, and the everyday one of us who are here, who support one another in our green edges of growth. Let's take this into prayer. Knowing that there's only one power. It's the power of the Most High. It's the power of God, Allah, Elohim, the sacred grandmother tree. That one power that is filled with love. I give thanks. I release this word into the law, and together we say, and so it is.